All right. I don't think people realize how dominant Philly was last season. They held a 92% win probability at the start of the fourth quarter in 10 different games last season. That was tied with San Fran for the most in the league. That's dominant stuff when the game is basically over after the first three quarters. And the Eagles would very likely be defending Super Bowl champs, in my opinion, if not for a couple fluky mistakes. One from Hurts on the fumble touchdown, and then the special teams allowing a 65-yard punt return touchdown. And I do have to mention this. Remember back at the end of 2021 season, all the Eagles fans were saying they want Gardner Minshew in as a starter and Hurts benched. Of course, nobody's going to admit that now, but some of you are out there. Eagles were one of only two teams to finish in the top five in both offensive and defensive EPA. And only five teams last season finished with a positive EPA per rush, Eagles, of course, being one of them. Oftentimes, the downside to success in the NFL is that it's hard to maintain it because other teams want to pick apart their personnel, and not just the players either, but coaches as well. Eagles lost both offensive coordinator Shane Steichen and defensive coordinator John Gannon. They both took head coaching jobs. A lot of people think Brian Johnson, the new offensive coordinator, has no chance to fill the void left by Shane Steichen, but what's interesting is Jalen Hurts says Brian Johnson is family. He's known him since he was 4 years old. Hurts' father played football with Johnson, and Johnson's been the QB coach for Hurts. So this isn't some new offensive coordinator coming in and having to build a relationship. Also, Johnson has a pretty good resume working with some good quarterbacks, Dak Prescott being one of them at Mississippi State, and turned him into Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, on the other side of the ball, they do lose defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, who led them to a top 3 overall defensive ranking and a unit that led the NFL in sacks. In steps Sean Desai as the new DC. He's a Vic Fangio disciple and worked under Pete Carroll, but the similarities between Gannon and Desai are pretty close. It's basically replacing Gannon with a lesser-known version of himself. So on the surface, it appears there's some big changes with the coordinators, but I don't think it's going to make any difference. But as far as the players go, Eagles did lose 5 defensive starters, and I think Philly defense struggles a bit this season because of this. Losing TJ Edwards might not seem like a big deal, but he was a huge part of the Eagles' defense as far as communication and chemistry goes. He was basically the quarterback of the defense. The defensive front is fine. I have them ranked as the best in the league. They lost Hargrove, but replaced him with Jalen Carter, who was considered the best defensive talent in the draft this year. It's behind the D-line, I think, is a concern. Not much chemistry at all there. A lot of new pieces. Based on Football Outsiders DVOA metric, the Eagles faced the easiest schedule in the NFL last year. This season, I have them right around league average strength of schedule. If you want my complete strength of schedule list, you can download my weekly NFL Power Packet inside the Betting Network Discord community. The Eagles don't play a single team in the first 5 weeks of this season who are projected to make the playoffs. It's extremely important for Philly to take advantage of this easy start to the season because it gets a lot tougher. They play 7 of my top 10 rated teams, and come weeks 9 through 15, they face probably the toughest stretch of games for any team at any point in the season. Take a look at this. They play Dallas, KC, Buffalo, San Fran, and Seattle all in a row. And to make it worse, they'll be at a rest disadvantage against Buffalo, San Fran, and Dallas. That back-to-back road trip, week 14 and 15, is as tough of a situational scheduling spot as it gets. On the road to play Dallas, and then on the road to play in Seattle. Since 1999, teams playing Seattle on the last leg of a back-to-back road trip are just 19 and 28 against the spread. That's a 39% win rate, and are just 10 and 38 straight up, a 21% win rate. The Super Bowl hangover is real for losing teams. The Bengals did buck this trend last season, but 6 of the last 9 Super Bowl losers went under their projected win total the following season, and 3 teams missed the playoffs altogether. I do trust head coach Nick Sirianni is going to push all the right buttons on decision-making and get the new pieces to kind of work well together, but I don't have the Eagles returning to the Super Bowl, and I don't have them winning their division. You can check out my Dallas Cowboys team preview for who's going to win those. But that's all I got for this one. If you've watched this far, I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for the last team preview, the Bengals. Until then, good luck with your bets.